Awards Watch listeners and readers. This is Ryan McQuade, executive editor here at Awards Watch. This is episode 2 of the Awards Watch podcast, brought to you by AwardsWatch.com. I think I've said Awards Watch there like 700 times. It's a big episode. Got a lot to talk about today. Daytime Emmys, a little bit of Tonys, a little bit of James Cameron, the Blue Man Group, a little bit of Doctor Strange, Multiverse of Madness, and we'll have a little bit of fun with the game. I don't have all the crew from last week's show here, but I have a good collection of them. And so I have with me Nicole Ackman.
Hello, hello.
I have Dan Bayer.
Hello, everybody. Happy early Mother's Day.
Yes, happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there, especially our Awards Watch mother, Eric Anderson. And Kevin Lee.
Hi.
What a big show today, guys. It's been a good weekend. Everybody been good? Everybody's had a decent week. Nicole, not so much, probably. But
yeah, I mean, I've had COVID, but it does mean that I've watched a lot of TV and slept a lot. So I feel like all things considered, it's not been the worst week.
Yeah. I've been in the TV binge-ification myself. I caught up on Barry, finished Severance. I'm on my way to Yellow Jackets.
I'm just trying to make Tyler proud of me.
I know. I was literally texting him last night. Like, these are all the shows I'm going to do. I swear to God, I'm going to watch them all.
Every time I watch an episode of something, I'm like, here are my thoughts on it.
For sure. We got some listener questions. Some that I think will be good icebreaker for the show. So this from Kinsey Vanunu, our good friend. What's an Oscar nomination you feel comfortable about predicting from any movie that's been released already this year? Damn. I hate that.
Right.
Kinsey, I hate this question because you're already making us put predictions and locks in there for May, and this hurts, but it's going to be fun to see how wrong we are in a couple months. Nicole, you want to go first?
I did, and now I'm second guessing myself. I'm trying to decide what I actually think is safe, because I feel like it's fairly likely that the Batman gets into a tech category. At least I think it'll make, some of the short lists. But I'm trying to figure out like what I think is the most safe thing to predict it for tech wise. I'm not sure.
Oh, was that your Batman? I'm not sure.
It wasn't meant to be. I think it just happened. Just naturally. I started thinking about it and I went there. I mean, what do we think like Batman would reasonably get into?
Makeup?
People say cinematography is, I would not be surprised by that.
Yeah.
I think makeup.
I think makeup feels pretty.
Makeup could be there. You can make the art with the expanded 5 category.
With the expanded 5, yeah. And I feel very safe that it would make a makeup like
sound seems about right.
Yeah, I think so.
Maybe not visual effects, but because there's not.
Although
maybe.
I mean, maybe it's a lot of practical stuff in that, so they do go for that every once in a while.
What if
I don't think the movie that we're talking about today is going to get into visual effects. So
you don't? That's interesting.
Really? I think it's the easiest.
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, that's probably, if I had to pick one thing that I was absolutely sure about, it would be Multiverse of Madness and visual effects.
They usually give like one superhero movie the nomination.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to end up being.
I don't think they gave it to just one. Didn't 2017 give Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 and Spider-Man Homecoming one?
Occasionally, like 2 get in, but it tends to be when there's 2 with very different types of special effects, I think. And I also think it could be hurt by the fact that they just nominated No Way Home, which also had very similar Doctor Strange effects in it. So
that's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. That seems to me like the kind of showy, fun special effects that would get in over whatever else they have coming this year, but we haven't seen the other Marvel movies, so who knows?
To me, it's the perfect kind of nominee that they know they're not going to pick as the winner.
Yeah, that makes sense. Real. Yeah.
Because we all know it's going to be Avatar 2.
Yeah, that wins. Yes.
Shut up. Shut up. I got some.
You have multiple?
Well, just some ideas you could throw out there. I think like Turning Red, an animated feature, is one that seems pretty
that's solid.
Yeah,
pretty solid.
Yeah.
Right? I think When People See Fire of Love, that'll get in a documentary.
But she said released already.
No,
I don't know if Fire of Love will happen the same way when Won't You Be My Neighbor didn't get it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It's
but
like-
this is a lot of I guess so, but I don't know. I mean, I think
we need people not to like it too much and
Yeah.
just don't nominate it.
Yeah.
They just don't pick. I just don't see the Academy picking feel good, wholesome documentaries like that. Like
they did
tend-
last year. Summer Soul.
Yeah.
That's a feel good one. You know.
Well, yeah,
that-
but like Julia didn't get in, right? So
Yeah, but that was a more traditional kind of
Yeah.
biopic documentary.
It'd be interesting to see how that movie's going to do. I do think that
Yeah.
it's going to. I think visually it's going to play really well with the documentary branch, and just as long as it doesn't win the Critics' Choice Award, then we're okay. in that department. Then that I mean,
along those lines, though, if it is eligible, I think Navalny in Best Documentary would be
yeah, that's one.
close to a sure bet.
Yeah. Maybe, I mean, this is where we could talk about, do we feel strong about anything for Everything Everywhere All at Once?
No.
The thing
Yeah.
that I
No.
would feel strongest about is original screenplay.
Yeah. But she's talking
but-
about locks, I guess, right?
Yeah,
Like,
but I don't think that movie is a lock. It is so weird in a way that they don't usually go for.
The Academy won't get it.
Yeah.
yeah.
Like
I mean-
I
won't get
don't
it.
think that's the type of film that you can ever talk about being a lock for something.
Yeah.
I would love to see it happen, and I think it is possible in, like you were saying, screenplay, and maybe even, I mean, if they ran the right campaign, maybe even Best Supporting Actor or something like that.
Best
But-
actress.
Or
even
lead
if it's
actress.
Best actress?
Yeah.
Maybe, but I do not feel comfortable calling it a lock.
If they are able to like really hype up the fact that they only had between 5 and 10 people total working on the visual effects, that would be huge, but it would have to make the shortlist first.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
it
that
would
I
also
think
be
is the biggest
a
hurdle.
really worthy costume nomination too.
And makeup.
And hair and makeup.
Yeah.
But I don't know if
Hot dog fingers. Yeah.
I really do
God.
think it's all like up to if they actually watch it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's up to A24 to campaign it correctly. And I love A24's movies, but they have some work to do with their campaigning.
Yeah. And they also
Just
have a
look out for the
massive
one.
slate of movies. They have a massive slate of movies.
Yeah,
coming
they do.
Here. This is from indications of people that I've talked to, and also rumblings that they're going to be their top priority because of the box office, because of the fact that it's done so well. But that changes once you get into a season. Once
Yeah.
you start premiering some of your fall things, the problem with the movie is you have to keep this momentum going for such a long time. And it's tough for a little movie like this. It really is. It's tough. Like
Yeah.
if anyone wants to make like a Get Out comparison, Get Out was backed by a massive studio. You know what I mean?
And
It
did huge box office.
huge box office. And no offense to the Daniels, they're not as big as Jordan Peele. Jordan Peele
Yeah.
is a huge celebrity even before he made directorial films. So I would just caution anyone to try to say anything there is locked. But Kevin, you had something?
I was just gonna say I'm gonna wait and see if A24 is going to send any movie to Telluride.
Oh, they
Because
will.
Because that tends to be like a pattern of theirs when they want to kickstart like a awards campaign for
Yeah.
a movie. They did that for Moonlight. They did that for Lady Bird, and those two are like two of their most successful Oscar campaigns.
Yeah. But then, like last year, they had Come On, and they had a couple other films and it didn't connect. And Lisa Tayback being over at Netflix now, that that's ever since that's happened, A24 is really sort of falling behind. It's really like Neon and Sony Pictures Classics and other smaller studios like that are really grabbing the attention.
wasn't New York Film Festival the biggest thing that Come On played at?
No, it was at Telluride, and
It was at Telluride.
it was
at
everywhere.
Telluride? Okay.
It went everywhere. Yeah.
Okay.
Not
That's why it was so
TIFF.
not
Yeah.
TIFF, but yeah, that's how I saw it at Middleburg last year.
Got it.
And I was like, man, this movie could be a screenplay. And then nope, not a thing.
Nothing.
Not a thing. Thank you, Kinsey,
Yeah.
though. Hopefully we answered that question.
I have another one that
Oh, you do. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to move on.
No,
I'm sorry.
I have two, honestly. And one is like my sort of fantasy, like if only, because the hair and makeup work in X
Yeah.
is insane,
Yeah.
but they would have to campaign it.
Yeah, it's not gonna-
And lastly, do not sleep on best original song for Marry Me.
Son of a-
Hey.
son of a bitch. Son of a bitch. Yeah, you get Affleck to go do a Q&A for her. You know what I mean?
It's a whole album's worth of songs that
Oh,
are
It's
just
That's good.
bops.
Yeah. That'll end
And
up on a short
J-Lo,
list.
we know she loves to campaign.
Yeah, but they don't like her. That we
They
know
didn't
of.
like that movie, please.
Mhm.
Like,
They might like her better now that she's back with Ben Affleck.
That's
Yeah.
fair.
and that she's in a sort of comparatively speaking, quote unquote, classy movie.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Well, they do like nostalgia. Everybody likes nostalgia. So or with Ben Affleck does make the funniest sense. I mean, we're in a weird timeline. The multiverse has broken in our own world for that to be a thing again. Kevin Jacobson asks, what's another film that should get a long overdue sequel like Avatar or Top Gun? That's a good question.
Oh.
None of them.
It is a great question, and I have a very easy answer to it.
Okay.
If we're talking like sequel,
Yeah.
because they had tried to develop this for years and it never happened. But like, I think that you could find a lot of people today who could make it and make it work. Beetlejuice.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Just with or without Tim Burton as a director.
Without.
Doesn't even matter.
Without.
It
Just as
kinda
long
does.
as you have
Yeah.
Keaton could absolutely do it.
That's good.
I would be so into that, actually.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Let Sam Raimi do a Beetlejuice sequel.
Oh.
Oh,
Okay. All right. Kevin coming in here with the
Okay.
facts.
Okay.
Yes.
Do you guys have one? Nicole, Kevin?
I mean,
I was thinking of things, but then Dan just like blew my mind, so it like took all my thoughts with it. Hold
pretty
on, I
good.
need to think.
I'm just gonna toot the same horn that I've been tooting for so long and say we need a sequel to The Nice Guys and Spy.
Yeah.
Spy, yes. Oh,
It's
or a
not long
prequel,
overdue.
just Spy centered around Jason Statham's character.
Yeah.
It's
Yes.
not long overdue, but and this is, I feel like some people might disagree with me, but I think
Here we
it's time to get the Amazing Spider-Man 3. I think we need to.
Way to start this campaign. Yeah.
I'm just saying, I think it's time to give Andrew Garfield his own good Spider-Man movie.
Mhm.
Clearly, he's still willing to get back into the suit. You know,
I'm so happy that like, oh god, like even when like, you know, with all the rumors and leaks and knowing that Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire are going to be in it, it just felt like this could be such an easy phoning it in kind of deal. And I remember seeing it and being like, oh my god, Andrew Garfield showed up.
he did.
He showed up, and it was so funny because like the couple weeks after the movie opened, people were asking me, they're like, oh, how was Tom Holland? And I was like, you know what, like out of the 3 Spider-Man movies that Tom Holland was in, I'd say this is probably his best. That being said, when I see him next to Andrew Garfield and Tobey Maguire, he's like the worst one. Especially when I was just that taken aback by just how much Andrew Garfield showed up to give a great performance in that movie. It's like, you can tell he loves this character and he really loves doing this role. And he was just giving like 100% to that.
I think we should give him another movie with a good script, a good director.
Totally.
I would love to see an older Peter Parker and how he's dealing with
Oh, for so long when there were rumors about them being in the movie, I was saying like, dude, I want a version of Tobey Maguire's storyline where he's like old Luke from Last Jedi.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Where he needs Tom Holland and Andrew Garfield to like get him to like put the suit back on and like
Instead we got youth pastor Peter Parker.
Hey kids, sit around the campfire. I'm gonna play my guitar. That's
part of why I like the original Spider-Man not original, but like the
Raimi
standard. No, well, I was gonna say yes, the Raimi ones, but also the original Peter Parker in Spider-Verse, the one who is like out of shape and worn out and like he's given up and like
I love it.
Yeah, I got a couple. Out of Sight.
Okay.
Ooh.
Get Clooney and J-Lo back. They're still hot.
Yes, they are.
Still hot.
Maybe hotter.
Maybe even I was about to say like maybe even hotter.
Especially for Clooney.
Hell yeah. Another hot movie, Mask of Zorro. I know they made The Legend of Zorro, but like bring back Antonio Banderas and Catherine Zeta-Jones. Put those two hot people back on the damn screen.
Seriously.
So you know what, Ryan? I have another one for you that is action movie with hot people in it.
Okay. Oh, The Mummy?
Yes, that's right.
Oh, yes. You
Yes.
know
the money
all of us are here for that.
Give Rachel Weisz the money. Give her the money.
Yes.
To hell with Maria Bello. Not that we hate Maria Bello, but like totally one of the worst casting, like changes in film history.
Happy Mother's Day, Rachel.
Happy
Weisz.
Mother.
Honestly, I mean, we just need to bring back classic traditional action movies where the entire cast can make up someone's sexuality.
Yeah,
it's true.
We need to bring back bisexual panic movies.
But really, like, it would be so easy to do like a Son of Zorro.
Yes.
Like, come on.
Like, also, too, that movie is so good. It's so rewatchable. It's
so much fun.
So much fun. Speed Racer. I want to see
the world was not ready for Speed Racer when it came out, and honestly, it's probably still not ready.
Do you want Lana Wachowski back in that?
Damn right I do.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Damn right I do. I don't know. I feel like
give us the full Wachowski verse. Let us have a Jupiter Ascending sequel.
Let's not say we did. Let's not.
You know.
Kevin agrees with me. Kevin agrees with me.
You know what?
Just because he has a finger out doesn't mean it's right.
See, you bring up a really good point that I've been making for a while, which is like there's been so many large, bold, ambitious, expensive sci-fi movies that, admittedly, they're not great. But I really like the direction they go that I want to see more. And like, it's okay if you mess up a little bit the first time, but honestly, like some of these deserve a second chance to like because like the first movie is always burdened to explain its rules and build its world. So when you get to the sequel, you're not burdened by that anymore. You finally get to tell a story. I personally felt like Jupiter Ascending was one of those movies where it's not great. It's kind of bad at places, but I'm totally down to see where it goes. Tomorrowland is another one. I don't think Tomorrowland's a great movie, but I want to see a sequel to that.
That's good. Yeah, so we can expand the world. Yeah.
This is not actually that long awaited, but I feel like I've been waiting a long time. I need Paddington 3. I need it with Nick Cage, and I need it with Pedro Pascal, and I need it now.
And Olivia Colman can play the villain.
Precisely.
Oh, like what if like Nick Cage and Olivia Colman are like a married couple villain sort of thing going on there?
Oh my god.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
I'm here for it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Also, Pixar has made so many fucking sequels to their movies. The only one that they should be making sequels to is The Incredibles.
Yeah.
Just keep making Incredibles.
Oh, I wasn't.
I really wondered where you were going. I was like,
they're the best
ask for like a Bug's
movies.
Life. Like what's happening?
Incredibles are the greatest superhero movies.
Can't bring back that villain. I'll tell you that.
I remember being so underwhelmed by the direction Incredibles 2 went. with their storyline. I'm still waiting for us. Maybe they'll do this in Incredibles 3. I'm still waiting for Incredibles to go in the direction of superheroes who do have their powers, except those characters choose to not do superhero work. They use their powers for selfish reasons.
Listen, forget the Incredibles themselves. I'm waiting for a Frozone movie.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's what I want.
I'm just waiting for Sam Jackson to get more like big property lead actor work. Like, I mean, the man,
the man is part of it. Literally every major.
Yeah,
franchise.
but like he's part of it, but he's not the main part of it.
Right.
Like, where's the Windu series? Not gonna happen, right? You know what I mean?
Where's like
Give me the Windu.
No one cares about Mace Windu.
Wow.
It's like that one.
Wow, Dan, I see
That's
where
not
you're.
true,
I see
Dan.
where. Well,
I care about Mace Windu.
Yeah,
It's like that one joke. That's
he's
actually
not
funny.
dead in my heart. I'll tell you
Let
that.
me go turn my lightsaber purple.
You guys remember that one joke in Ted 2 that was funny? Horrible movie, but that one joke about Samuel L. Jackson, which is which is really fun. Who's that? You don't know who Samuel L. Jackson is? Have you seen any movie ever? He's the black guy.
Which is why I could once again go on my rant about how the Academy doesn't understand anything because they did not give him his award, on screen. But that's fine.
God.
Well, I mean, he should have. I mean, no offense, Martin Landau, but that's not your Oscar. I'm sorry.
I just
That's Sam Jackson's Oscar.
Yeah.
If the Academy
Let's be
wanted
honest.
the youth, they would have given Nick Fury his Oscar on screen.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, but also too, like, should have been nominated for Django Unchained. It's like ridiculous.
Yes.
Oh, I know.
Him and Leo.
I'm just talking.
I mean-
listen, I'm just talking about last year's problems.
Should've been nominated for
Hateful
Hateful
Eight.
Eight.
All the ways that the
There-
Academy
there-
has
there-
wronged
No,
him.
not just Django. He was great in Hateful Eight.
Yes. Yeah.
He was. Yeah.
And
That man
and the reason why it's not nominated, you can thank Harvey Weinstein.
That man ain't
The
worth a
AwardsWatch
peso.
podcast
Yeah.
is officially the Samuel L. Jackson fan club.
Yes.
I think
We're
that's
getting
every
deeper.
podcast.
It's
I don't
true.
think
It's
just this
everybody
one.
though. Who
Yeah.
doesn't like Samuel L. Jackson? Nobody.
All right. Next
If you
question.
don't, get away from me.
Next question from Oscar Central. If Tom Cruise made his way back to working with interesting directors like PTA, Oliver Stone, I don't know if Oliver Stone's an interesting director anymore, but or like Stanley Kubrick was, instead of his action sequels, which director would you like to see him work with? That's interesting.
Jane Campion.
I
don't know
feel
if
like the
Would he work for a woman? I don't think Tom Cruise would.
Is that allowed? In
I'm
just where is he?
I'm not saying anything.
I'm just saying is that there are some actors that are big in this industry and they don't work with women, and it's quite noticeable. Leonardo DiCaprio.
It's true.
That's what I'm
okay.
saying. That's what I'm saying.
because
and
there
given
aren't
the
any
fact
female
that he
directors
has
who are like under the age of 25 and he doesn't realize that women older than that exist.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
yeah, it's
And
fine.
also given the fact that he just yelled at a bunch of people during Mission Impossible, like, and he's producer and has creative control over his stuff. This is the problem that you would have for him going back to this sort of thing. It's not about like, wouldn't I want him to work with Jane Campion? Yes. Does Jane Campion probably want to work with him? Probably not. You know, like there's probably like far other people that she would rather work with. I mean, realistically, he'd probably work with like Tarantino, like on the last show.
That
He's so
would be
boring.
interesting.
They almost were.
So
That was.
boring.
It's not boring. You have
It's not if they can get him back into like the place where he was when he did like Tropic Thunder.
like he almost
If
was Cliff
Tarantino can write him
Booth.
something like that. That would
He was
be
on.
great.
He was almost Cliff Booth.
That would have
want
sucked.
to see him
Yeah.
go back to like a risky business type
Yeah.
role with like Rob Reiner or somebody. Not that that's like the most interesting person that he could work with, perhaps, but I think that would be like the most interesting turn he could suddenly take.
I want him to be the lead suspect, only to get killed off halfway through in a Knives Out sequel.
Ooh.
Oh my God.
Ooh,
Okay, that'd be
Yes.
interesting.
that would be
Just
fun.
just don't have him be like one for Kenneth Branagh in one of
I-
the Christie things. So sorry, Nicole. No, that's not shade at Kenneth Branagh.
We don't want him in a
He
Kenneth
just-
Branagh movie. We
I
don't want that
don't want
to be
him
spoiled
anywhere
that
near
way.
Kenneth Branagh.
I mean, or Kenneth Branagh at that point. Right? Yeah.
I think I have two interesting options.
Okay.
The first one is that like I would really like to see him be the villain in Jordan Peele's next movie.
Interesting.
Yeah, he could do that.
Maybe he could play himself.
Yeah, he
I was
could
gonna
just
say, I'm getting a little
Jordan
Peele as an American producer.
Again, I didn't say that, Church of Scientology, but and the other thing is like I really would like to see him be just like terrorized like Toni Collette in Hereditary. So Ari Aster. Yeah.
Put him in the bear suit. Put him in the bear suit. Yeah.
I like
about Scientology.
he is good when he goes horror adjacent.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
You know,
Okay,
so like
imagine a film that's black and white, aspect ratio fixed 4:3. And then Tom Cruise saying to the screen with all his energy, "If I had a steak, I'd fuck it."
Yeah. Robert Eggers, baby.
Oh Lord.
You know what? Actually, okay. I know I said that. I know I'm just about to contradict myself here, but I just thought about it in my head about somebody that could actually work with him, has the action sensibilities. If he was going to work with a female director,
Okay.
and give himself over creatively,
I know what you're saying.
Catherine Bigelow
Yep.
would
I
be
knew
the
that's where
person
this was
that
going.
he's going to work with.
I could see it.
She's also, how do I say this and it not sound like a hit on her, because it's not, but I feel like she's the man's female director.
Yeah, she's made a lot of man's films.
For
for some
Break. Come on.
For some reason, I don't feel like Catherine Bigelow would use Tom Cruise in a way that
she
Tom
wouldn't.
Cruise would hope.
No.
Yeah.
And that's great. You know what I mean? Like, I mean,
Tom Cruise would be like, "I want this kind of role, Catherine," and Catherine would be like, "Nah, you're gonna get this."
You know what she'd do? Sure, Tom. Sure. You know what I mean? She'd put her Oscar on the table and say, "You got one of those? You got one of those?"
Honestly, I also wouldn't mind seeing Tom Cruise in one of those more quiet, meditative films. Like put him with James Gray or something. Like,
ooh,
like I also don't mind seeing. Like, I want to see what Tom Cruise can do. Like when he's like quiet and reserved.
Oh, I know. Put him with Mike Mills.
If you get him back in like Jerry Maguire mode. And I would never, and the filmmaker that I first thought of for this, I would never want to subject this poor boy to this.
I know what you're going to say.
But I could see him in the next Cooper Raiff movie.
I could see him. Honestly,
no,
don't.
No.
Honestly, we're like 1 or 2 degrees away from him being in Sorkin's next film. Let's just be honest with ourselves. Like he can do that. He can do that dialogue.
I mean, it's been a while since A Few Good Men, but he can do it.
Yeah. He'd be like, can you imagine like the publicity for like that, the reunion he's working with him? Yeah, it would be insufferable.
Insane.
But like, no, like that. One, to all the Marvel fans out there, he's never going to be in the MCU, so you can just forget that out of your head. But like, no, it is interesting. That's like, I've watched Tom Cruise. Well, we've all watched Tom Cruise movies for our entire lives. We've seen basically him evolve into these weird manifestations of himself. I don't think at this point, maybe past Mission Impossible, so maybe like 4 or 5 years he starts doing that. But it's also like too, him doing a lot of those introspective pieces means that I think then people are going to ask him more personal questions.
Yeah.
And then therefore they lend himself to not wanting to ask those questions. Like he's never going to work with Paul Thomas Anderson again. Could it be because since they've worked together, he sort of denounced that movie, and also Paul Thomas Anderson made a movie called The Master? Probably so. You know what I mean? But I agree with the question. Is just like that was when he was at his most interesting, when he was doing Born on the 4th of July, Jerry Maguire, Rain Man, when he was working with these big directors, and even The Color of Money, which is like a lesser Spielberg movie. I mean, not Spielberg, Scorsese movie, but he did have his run with Spielberg. He did Minority Report. He did War of the Worlds.
So good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
So
like,
good.
It's like When are you going to get back? Like Christopher McQuarrie, love that he's working.
Yeah.
Great for him. Like those Mission Impossible movies are fantastic.
Fantastic.
Cannot wait to see Top Gun Maverick. But for the love of God, dude, like I feel like if he does get a role, Hollywood, regardless of the Scientology shit, regardless of all the other stuff, they are waiting for a coronation. It is no different than Will Smith. It is no different than Brad Pitt.
Mm-hmm.
They will award him because he has been somebody in this industry that has made a boatloads of money, and also is a producer, has gotten a lot of movies made, worked with a lot of people. He's waiting for it's waiting for him, not an honorary, like a regular campaign.
One. Yeah.
Like he doesn't even have to campaign. It's just going to give it to him.
I'm shocked. I'm almost shocked that this hasn't happened yet, and I'm extra shocked that none of us have said this. He's never worked with Christopher Nolan.
Shit!
He is the ultimate current action director.
Yeah, why wasn't he Oppenheimer?
He had.
How is Tom Cruise not in Oppenheimer? Everyone else in Hollywood is.
He probably is. It's going to be the last casting announcement.
You know what?
He got lost in the press release.
He probably didn't fit the height requirement. You know what I mean?
Jokes on you guys. He's going to play Ken's best friend in Barbie.
Oh, there you go.
As if he would work with
Hey, he does work in if you watch Rogue Nation 100 times than I did, it's like that man's honestly trying to fit in as many shirtless shots of himself as possible at this point. So
he is. Yeah, that's true.
And I give him credit, man. He's trying to die for all of us. So
I just want him to do just funny cameos. You mentioned Brad Pitt earlier, Ryan, and I just remember Brad Pitt is willing to make fun of himself. Do you guys remember his random cameo in Deadpool 2?
Well, I mean, The Lost City this year. The Lost City this year too.
Lost City.
Lost City as well. It's
he's willing to have fun.
Yeah.
Also, he's Brad Pitt. He can do whatever he wants.
Does meditative stuff. I mentioned James Gray. I love Brad Pitt and Astra. Yeah.
Do you know what I want? I want a series of Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent films, but they're all around different actors. I want a Tom Cruise one. I want a Brad Pitt one.
Yeah.
I want a Samuel L. Jackson one.
Yeah.
Well, we don't have all the time for a Samuel L. Jackson one. That's gonna be a 9-hour movie.
That's the next one.
Yeah.
Can you imagine an Unbearable Weight of Massive Talent about Samuel L. Jackson and Spike Lee does that?
Oh my god!
Oh, they actually give Spike Lee $100 million budget. Wow!
Like that,
I love that.
And for a very strange reason, that will be his largest budget to date.
Yep.
It's here you go, Spike. You have more money to make this than the Five Bloods.
These people in these movies, in the Pedro Pascal type.
Just have Pedro Pascal play the best friend in all of them. Make it a regular.
Do you know the way that I would be there on opening day for every one of those movies?
Exactly.
I would be hounding the press people beforehand.
All right, that's listener questions. So thank you all for those. We have some other listener questions that are sprinkled throughout our topics here, but this week, Daytime Emmy nominations were announced. Kevin Lee's favorite thing of the year. He was waiting by his computer for these Daytime Emmy nominations. So we'll ask him here in a second how he feels about them. Eric did the write-up, which you can go see at awardswatch.com. Seems like it was your normal garden variety, Young and the Restless, Days of Our Lives, sort of all those, running.
The only thing that matters is Ina Garten getting her 2 nominations.
Exactly. Ina Garten got nominated.
And
the lead, Jada.
That's true.
Yep. You won, Jada. Congratulations. Ray Table Talk did do pretty well, but Kelly Clarkson and The View led the daytime talk shows with 9 nominations each, though it was interesting to see that I believe that from what I saw that The View did not get best informative television show, which is surprising because it is the highest rated one. But Kelly Clarkson, she really did well. Good for her.
That is my American Idol, always and forever. I could not be more thrilled about this direction that her career has gone in, and we get a new single every day. I mean, I'm living for it.
She does great. Did you ever watch that interview she did with Colin Farrell and the chaos of that interview? It was like,
I love her.
It was like a ping pong match of an interview. You were just going back and forth, trying to figure out this and that. Yeah, Red Table Talk got 2 nominations for that. Tamara Hall, Turning Tables with Robin Roberts, Peace of Mind, and then Good Morning America 3, What Do You Need to Know? Those were the Outstanding Informative Talk Show. And the informative talk show host was the Estefans for Red Table Talk, The View, Tamara Hall, Tracy Jade, Taraji P. Henson, Peace of Mind with Taraji, Robin Roberts. And then Outstanding Entertainment Talk Show was Drew Barrymore Show, the Kelly Clarkson Show, Live with Kelly and her co-host, Today's Show with Hoda and Jenna, and then Hot Ones got nominated.
That's really exciting.
That was
Hot Ones. He is one of the best interviewers.
Sean Evans, fantastic interviewer.
Incredible.
He's my favorite
truly.
interviewer of all time.
Oh,
No joke.
Yeah, it's
Straight
amazing.
Some of the questions and answers, I mean, like, even for Nicole, he can make chicken wings with Matt Damon interesting. You know what I mean? So
The way I love too seeing like how impressed the people that he interviews are with the questions that he asks and the things that he finds. But I think he does a really good job of not being like too intrusive as well, because some interviewers make me uncomfortable. And he strikes a really nice balance of getting like unique information from them without ever seeming like he's pushed them to a point of being uncomfortable with what he's asking.
My 2 favorite interviewers right now, Sean Evans and Jake Hamilton.
I was gonna say he reminds me a lot of like Jake, because they both of them always get that's a really good question. So like when we do interviews, and I know that I've asked a really good question that's like based off of that. I think we've all done that. Like when you're like, that's a really good question, I didn't think about that, and you're like, okay, cool, I'm doing it right.
Yes.
Yep.
All right.
When Sebastian Stan said that to me, I was like, I peaked. Like,
we had
Nicole short-circuited.
Yeah, she was
literally, I'm like,
Sebastian,
pack it up, the
Stan,
career's done.
Sebastian Stan, you know. Did anybody this was a question from me and Block Clock. What was the strangest nomination of the daytime Emmy noms? I mean, for me, the strangest nomination, the one that made me laugh, and I can't believe that they submitted her, and I guess they had to, was the fact that when The View got nominated for Best Hosts, it still included Meghan McCain this year, and the fact that she's gone, and if they win that means that she would win that Emmy alongside them for a show she has disavowed because she's a best-selling author. Not really though. Now, but I've heard that news this week that she only has sold 244 copies of her new book. But and I'm not joking, that is an actual fact.
That's amazing.
That is wonderful. You know what, that book selling reminds me of the saying of like, if you hear a tree fall in a forest, you know, sort of thing, right? You know what I mean?
God.
That's what it sounds. Only the forest she burned down to make that terrible book. Anyway, I would say that's the only strange. I mean, like the fact that like Red Table Talk got so many nominations.
I will say
but I guess it was after the voting period or whatever for all that, you know, all the mess around and what's going on. But Nicole, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I'm fascinated by the fact that, like, I don't know, the daytime Emmys is kind of a weird concept to me. And the fact that Netflix has so many things that are eligible for it is really interesting to me.
Yeah.
Like in the outstanding main title, no, not that one. Outstanding sound mixing and sound editing, 4 of the 5 nominees are Netflix.
Yeah.
And I'm just
shows
very
that I have
interested.
never heard of.
I'm just very interested in the fact that like those are eligible for this.
Yeah.
I think like that's what was most surprising to me, is seeing how many Netflix things are in there amongst your more normal, like, you know, syndications and PBS and ABC and all that kind of stuff.
We'll have to bring Tyler on to talk about this more in full sometime, especially when we talk about Emmy nominations and get his real stint. But I just kind of wanted to bring those up real quick, and that they happened this week and everything. And and then
The daytime Emmys is when I realized that like I really have no clue what is going on in TV.
That's fair.
Because
that's fair.
I have not heard of like the majority of these programs.
I thought like I was literally reading the list the other day, and I was like, these shows, something like for the soap operas, I was like, these are still on? Like, really?
They
Like,
will
what?
run forever.
Yeah, they're running forever. Like, it's weird. Anyway,
No, literally, some of these soap operas are ones that I think my mom watched while she was pregnant with my sister.
Yes,
Because she watched
yeah.
all the soap operas then.
That my
sister's-
grandmother watched.
Yeah.
When
My
she was pregnant
sister
with my
just
mom. Like,
finished her freshman year of college. So, like, yeah.
that's all you need to know. So shifting over from daytime Emmys to the Tonys. It's just so happens we had two pieces go up this week about the Tonys. I wonder who wrote those. Oh, that's right. It was Dan Bayer.
Damn,
Dan
bear.
Bayer.
that's me.
Dan Bayer. So, Dan, you wrote about the upcoming Tony season. You wrote in one article about the musical section,
Mhm.
and then you wrote about the plays. Can you talk us through a little bit about this year, your overall impressions about it, you know, how the race is sort of looking? I read your piece and they're very thorough, but if you could
Yeah.
give us, let's start with musicals first, I guess, Dan, and talk about those and what seems to be getting the most buzz. I know that, you know, Broadway be reopening and everything. There's a lot of buzz around revivals, but, you know, tentatively with, you know, the Tonys, we like to know about the new original stuff, like, because that's how we get a Wicked, or we get an Avenue Q, or we get a Book of Mormon, or we get a Hamilton. I don't believe that there's anything on that level this year, maybe, but I could be wrong. Dan, so
It's interesting. I mean, because of Tony, so the nominations are coming out Monday, the 9th.
Mhm.
So I'm very, very excited to see what gets nominated. It's always so weird with the Tonys because run by the American Theater Wing, and there is a specific Tony nominating committee that sees everything. And so it's nearly impossible to predict what they're going to like and not like out of what's nominated. It's kind of like, you know, the BAFTAs with the blue ribbon panels, and they just have their own tastes every year. You never know. But it was interesting because with the new musicals this year, there were essentially 3 that everyone agreed were great, and then another 3 or 4 that they were like, it's fine. With the 3 great ones being A Strange Loop, 6, and Girl from the North Country. The Girl from the North Country, which is the Bob Dylan jukebox musical with Mayor Winningham. It was open, and then I think it was in previews back before everything shut down. Then everything closed. Then it came back this season, and then went away, and is now coming back like just before the nominations were announced. So it's a really interesting story there. 6, which is an international sensation, about the 6 Wives of Henry VIII forming a girl band, which is so much fun, so fantastic.
Which I also am
It
gonna
is
like
so
jump in
clever.
and say,
Yeah.
Dan and I are seeing it together in June.
Mhm.
It's gonna be a great time.
Kevin's face you just got his attention. He was like, he was dead during daytime Emmys, and now you just brought him alive. You revived him. You're literally he's revived. Revival.
This is the producer in me, you know. Like,
Yeah,
if you give me a really good log line for something, my eyes are gonna light up. Like, excuse me?
Yeah,
his eyes twitching right now. He can see the money. You know,
6 is a great concept. It is a fantastically clever show. The lyrics and the dialogue, the book writing is so great. And it blew up in England, obviously, where it premiered. Then came over here. Opening day was the day that Broadway shut down in 2020. So it has been a long, hard road, but they were like, that cast and that show in general has been the masters of viral content throughout the past couple years. So they're one of the few original musicals that is actually doing really well at the box office this season. The problem for them, though, is that when it was in England for the Olivia Awards, they determined that the entire ensemble would compete as a group in featured actress, and they got an Olivier Award nomination as such. But here, the Tony nominating committee decided that they would each be considered individually for lead actress in a musical.
Ooh,
which makes it really difficult to determine
really
if
tough.
any / even which one of them could get nominated.
Yeah.
However, one of them has been cited twice by different groups solo, and that's Brittany Mack, who plays Anna of Cleves. So if we're looking, she probably has the best chance because she's been cited by the Drama Desks last year and then by the Drama League this year, which are two different things. But it's really hard to tell how that's going to go. But those are the three big musicals from this year. And with the rest sort of fighting for the last couple spots in every category.
And so Revival, obviously big right now because the company, obviously Hugh Jackman, Music Man with Sutton Foster. Those seem to be like the big heavy hitters in that. And I assume I mean, like I just saw this past week that Foster and Jackman were making the circuit on late night and everything, including on Seth Meyers this week. So, they know how to campaign. They're pushing those two big time. And given like the fact that they both had COVID, I believe, and the company got COVID, and it's been a crazy turnaround. And then of course the controversies about the producer of the time, and it was going to even continue and everything. So that has seen its long road as well, and it'll be interesting to see how much it gets embraced. Because like sometimes Dan, you know this from covering the Tonys and me being the casual observer of it. It's like we think something with big people is going to hit so hard, and then it doesn't, or it's marginal. It happens, where you're like, wait, that thing that's making a ton of money didn't, and they just went with something else. Now, like obviously, I think in Revival, it's a little limited in terms of getting the nomination for best musical revival, but like in the other categories that it could break into for like performances and other things as well, like that's where it could potentially underperform. But I don't believe that's going to happen for this year. I feel like everything seems to be like we want to. It's kind of like the Oscars in a weird way, even though the Tonys do their own thing. It's like we want to get stars in the room and we want to celebrate everybody. And I don't think that, and we've been gone for how many years? And like, these are say what you want about Music Man and company and everything. It's keeping the lights on.
Yeah. That is the biggest shows right now in terms of playing to capacity are shows that were not reviewed well, and it's because they have big stars. It's the Macbeth with Daniel Craig and Ruth Negga, which I just saw yesterday. The Music Man it was better than I had expected, but my expectations were like in the basement because of the reviews. So like if anything would have been better. The Daniel Craig and Ruth Negga are both fantastic. The show, the production is a whole, there were some strange choices.
Who directed it?
Sam Gold, who is a very divisive director. The last big Broadway revival that I remember him doing was A Glass Menagerie with Sally Field that I liked a lot more than most other people did. So I guess I respond to a lot of his ideas more than other people. And there were some things in this that were incredible, but then other things that I was just like, what are you doing?
There's only one way you can get me to watch Daniel Craig's Macbeth, and that is if he gets to deliver those monologues in that southern drawl.
Oh! Unfortunately, he is speaking in his natural accent, as is Ruth, which is a delight to hear her Irish brogue. But so that was okay. And then obviously the Music Man with Hugh Jackman and Sutton Foster, and then the third big one that is playing at like upwards of 90% capacity is Funny Girl with Beanie Feldstein, which is another one that got just savaged by the critics.
Do you think that, Dan, and I don't mean to cut you off, but like ask you this, is do you think because it has those big Hollywood stars, because it may, because that could be a factor as to why reviewers of the Broadway community sort of like slam those a little bit more than anything else? Or is it, or are they actually founded for the most part claims of troubles with those productions?
Yeah, no, they like, I mean, the critics, they can be harsher sometimes on people that are big, but just because like you have certain expectations, and then some big names, especially big Hollywood names, they're just not used to the type of performance you have to give on stage for
that makes
a
sense.
house of a few hundred to 1,000 people.
Yeah,
it's a very different type of performing, and some people just aren't up to it. And then you get to situations like Beanie in Funny Girl, where that is a revival with a beyond iconic original star, but also like she is a wonderful actress in her own right, but her voice may not be the best match for the score that's written. Okay. So there are things where I think people, it's sort of the same game with movies. Like you get certain expectations or you have certain standards, and if they don't meet those standards, they're going to knock you down a peg.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I mean, Nicole, you had extensive theater background as well too, and everything. And is pretty much Dan what he's saying there like correct and everything. And I mean, I know Dan did the pieces and everything, but Nicole, you have obviously been covering the Tonys this year as well, and following along with it. Like, is there anything in particular that you've seen from the musical side as well that is sort of intriguing to you?
Yeah, I'm, like what Dan was saying, I think one of the most intriguing things to me is sort of looking at with 6 how they campaign them at the Olivier's, because I was over there whenever that was going on, versus how they're campaigning them here at the Tonys. And the Olivier's do that more often, where they will group a set of people together and campaign them for one spot. I remember they did it, I think, with the Matildas as well. And they are not shy about splitting out multiple awards like that. So I am really interested to see if one of the 6 ladies does manage to make it in. That's the thing that I'm kind of on the edge of my seat for. I think, like Dan was saying, there is sort of this expectation whenever there are celebrities on Broadway, because for one thing, with a lot of these shows, they're really sold as, Hugh Jackman in The Music Man, as Beanie Feldstein is Funny Girl, to the point that like you can, there's all these weird things around. You can actually get a refund if they're not in that day. Which, I'm like, I love to see an understudy, and I've heard that Beanie's understudy is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I think that people have maybe been a little bit harsher on Beanie in Funny Girl than they would have been had it not been such an iconic Barbra Streisand role. I'm seeing it in June. I'm super excited. I love a revival that really tries to reimagine something. And from what I've heard, they did a lot of work to try to make it very clear that she's not trying to be Barbara, which is what I would want to see. I don't want to see someone try to be Barbra Streisand. But I am very curious to see if the Tonys will or will not embrace her in particular. I think The Music Man also has a lot of baggage going on. I don't know if the Tonys are going to care. I will say, as someone like, sort of in the theater community, I'm not going to go see it. I have a lot of ill will against the production because of the ways that I have a lot of issues with Scott Rudin. I have issues, him personally, with the way that he markets things, with the way in which he prizes classism and elitism in the theater community and purposely makes things inaccessible. That to me is like the worst thing anyone involved in theater can ever do. Yeah. So the way that they bumped a show out of the theater to be able to have the theater that they're in, I just have like 40,000 issues with The Music Man, and it kind of has come to symbolize the problems in the theater industry. So I'm really curious to see if the Tonys are going to care about that or not. Yeah. Because obviously the tourists still love it. And it did get, I think it's generally understood to be like a fine production. I've heard a lot of things about Sutton Foster being miscast, but I'm very curious to see if they're going to embrace Music Man, if they're going to embrace Funny Girl. There also is a 4th revival that's eligible. And I'm very curious to see if they're going to remember it or not, because it is closed now. But
Caroline or
Change was supposedly fantastic. So
it was a really good production. Yeah.
I would love to see them sort of throw over one of these bigger name revivals.
It'll be
in the name of Caroline or Change.
By the time this show goes out, we should know those nominations and everything. It will be really interesting. I want to get into plays real quick, Dan, and then we've got to move on to,
of course,
Pandora. But just talk really quickly about plays. Some of the big hitters this year. You've seen a couple of, like you just said, you saw Macbeth. I believe you also seen Tracy Letts' latest, and I know that there's what is it, the Presidents or Miss President, or what is that one with POTUS, that's what it is. It had something to do with like first ladies or presidents and stuff like that. So can you talk a little bit about the big hitters this year and what you expect to see by the time this show comes out about the plays side of
I think the big thing that I want to say first is that, like, just remember that when we're talking about the Tonys, the American Theater Wing, and especially the nominating committee, unlike with things like the Oscars, where the biggest branch is the actors, with the Tonys, the largest branch are the producers.
Yeah.
And the Tonys are really seen as in addition to honoring the work that has happened, they're equally about, selling Broadway, trying to get people to, build interest, to get people to come to Broadway, to bring the tourism dollars to New York City, to boost box office. So things that win, that's why you will see things that were great but closed often do less well at the Tonys than with things that are currently running but have worse buzz or worse reviews, because they want to really build up what's happening now so that people will go see it. It's one of the things that is different. Like we're talking about the Emmys or the Oscars, people can still see these things whenever by renting or buying a DVD or whatever, but you can't do that with theater. It's live, it's happening right now, or it's done. That said, the biggest behemoth on the play side of things is something that closed earlier this year, the Lehman Trilogy, which was directed by Sam Mendes and was like the absolute hottest ticket of the season. You can get in. Everyone was amazed by it. The three actors who are, again, all competing against each other in the lead category, which pretty big names. You have Simon Russell Beale and Adam Godley, and then Adrian Lester is the only one who doesn't have like a really big, huge name. But they all got incredible reviews. We can see at least one of them nominated for lead actor in a play, and that is also probably going to clean up on the tech side of things as well. And then other than that, there is The Minutes, which is Tracy Letts' new play, which I saw and I thought was brilliant. A lot of other people did not have the same reaction that I did, but it's going to do well. I don't know that it will be on top of the nominations or anything, but it's going to do very well. Tracy Letts is a living legend, and he's the greatest American dramatist that's currently living. Probably it's either him or Tony Kushner, and everybody loves him. And then there's the revivals. Shockingly, one of the shows that is currently on Broadway that has had the highest percentage of the audience filled recently is the revival of How I Learned to Drive, with Mary Louise Parker and David Morse reprising their roles from 25 years ago in production directed by the same director. It's been huge. That is what has really been the talk of the town, so to say, in recent weeks. And for a play that is about the grooming of a young child by an older family member to be doing as well as it is in this current climate is really something.
It is something, RA.
But it's been getting, like, Mary Louise Parker has been getting the best reviews of her career for this, and she's not one who has been lacking for great reviews. And so that is another one that I expect to do very well, along with the revival of Take Me Out, which has been very buzzy for the fact that they are not allowing phones in the theater. They literally like lock them up when you enter, and you are not able to get at them until the play is done, because this play is very famous for having a lot of full male nudity. It's a story. I like
story
Kevin
of our
giving
life.
the
Yeah.
thumbs up.
Tell us more, Dan.
It is about a professional baseball player who comes out of the closet, and there are several scenes that take place in the baseball team's locker room, and it is true to how people would act in a locker room. They are undressing and walking around with their asses out and their cocks out, and big ups to the producers for saying we understand the what the current culture is, and we are going to make sure that our actors are protected.
Yeah.
There are a lot of other productions that would not do that. I will say from experience, having just seen it, that Macbeth, I was seated in the audience left box when I saw it, and got a face full of Daniel Craig's ass in the tightest of tight pants.
You saw the full specter, huh?
Yes. As he mounted Ruth Negga, and it was glorious. I did not take a picture of it, but
you're in a full moment of Quantum of Solace. Yeah, for sure.
He can take my Quantum of Solace whenever he wants.
Yeah, exactly. Let the sky fall.
If I was older and not prepared, it would have been No Time to Die for me.
Exactly.
It just
yeah.
I had a good time at the Casino Royale.
Yeah, there you go. All right, we got them all in. All right, there you go. All right, awesome. Nicole and Kevin just looking at both of us, shaking their damn heads at us.
I'm impressed.
Okay. Well, no, that's
slow clap.
That's that's the Tony preview. The nominations should be coming out later today when you are listening to this episode. They are going to be hosted later this year on Paramount Plus and CBS by previous Tony nominee and now Academy Award winner Ariana DeBose
and Raleigh Girl.
Yeah. There you go. I mean,
which I need to myself and Nicole and our friends at Next Best Theater, Cody Derricks and Lauren LaMagna, when we were recording our own Tony preview thing, we just threw out there into the universe. What if Ariana DeBose hosted the Tonys? Wouldn't that be cool? And that could be a genuine possibility. And then 12 hours later,
she's the moment right now. She
really
did a great job on SNL, so I look forward to seeing her hosting gig here at the Tonys. A very much more fun, and she's got great energy, so I think that'll match that show extremely well. But we're going to move away from TV and theater, and we're going to move back into the movie sphere. There was obviously Doctor Strange, and we'll review that here shortly. But there was a little trailer that came out for most people that got to see it at press screenings. I was not fortunate enough to see it at the press screening for Doctor Strange, but most audiences this weekend have seen the trailer for James Cameron's Avatar 2, The Way of the Water.
The Way of Water.
Way of Water, The Way of the Water. It doesn't matter. It's going to make a bunch
of money. The D is important.
The D is important. So I have not seen the trailer. Nicole has not seen the trailer yet. Dan, you've seen the trailer. Kevin's seen the trailer. Yes. So Kevin, just give us we're not going to go very long on this because the trailer's not very long, if I'm not mistaken. It doesn't really show anything that new. But what was your overall feeling about the trailer for the Avatar 2?
It's funny because, the whole social media consensus and polarized reactions about what do we think about Avatar as a film. I see this going both ways because I think the people who love the first Avatar are going to see this trailer as, oh my God, we're back. It's like we've never left. And then the haters are going to say the exact same thing. Oh my God, it's like we've never left. Because I think this teaser, it looks incredible. We are absolutely back in Pandora, and it looks exactly like the 2009 Avatar. The big plus to it, in my opinion, is the water visual effects look insane. There's some shots that look like they're ripped straight out of Blue Planet.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and then they show the trailer to us in 3D, and I don't remember the last time I saw a movie in 3D, and frankly, I'm not the biggest fan of 3D since it usually dims the screen. But my experience seeing this trailer, it was not dimmed. The 3D glasses were really nice, and I actually thought the 3D looked great. I personally would not mind putting those 3D glasses back on just to watch this. If it looks anything like the trailer, like I'm okay with it. But in terms of like the people who like the original movie and the people who hated the original movie, I don't think this teaser is going to change anyone's opinions.
Yeah.
And
I completely agree with everything Kevin said. It looks spectacular. No one knows how to do 3D and specifically 3D action better than James Cameron. It's stunning to look at, and the fact that it is a genuine teaser. It is selling us on the look of the movie, the feel of the movie. It's not giving us any specific plot or characters. It's even hard to tell like what actors are in it. Honestly, aside from Sam Worthington and Zoe Saldana, who we can somewhat recognize, but you know what? I'm sold, like ticket absolutely sold, because it just looks so good. I like literally looks so good.
Yeah.
I mean, you can see every dollar and every minute that they spent working on this
the years they spent.
The
years, the time.
And it's funny because like we've seen other blockbusters before with large sequences that take place underwater. I mean, like Aquaman, a big chunk of Aquaman is underwater, and I personally think Aquaman looks really gorgeous. Especially the underwater scenes. They felt like they're underwater as opposed to being in air. If you know what I mean.
I get what you're saying.
The water. I mean, maybe people are going to disagree with me on this. I felt like the water in this Avatar trailer looked too realistic in a way. There's like one or two shots where I was like, holy shit! Like the way the sunlight pierces through the water, I was like, that's real. That's actual footage. That isn't CGI. But then there are Na'vi people in it, and there's a big giant creature in it. So I'm like, okay, so like how much of that was actually real and how much of it, it's funny because like water was one of the first milestones of visual effects. It's like we always have these benchmarks, right? And this is one of the many reasons why I love Pixar as an animation studio, because each movie they try to push the envelope of visual effects. It's like Monsters Inc. is very obvious. They're playing with hair and fur, and then Finding Nemo, they're playing with water. I feel like every movie that tries to push the boundary of water still impresses me, even though it's fucking water,
It's really difficult to replicate it because there's so many times in animation or special effects where it looks like rubbery or plasticky somehow.
Right.
But they have really perfected it in this. Like it looks real.
But again, like Dan is right. We have no idea what the movie is about story wise because it straight up is.
Does that matter? Does that matter?
No, absolutely doesn't matter.
I mean, you were not going to Avatar for the damn story. We didn't go the first time for the damn story. So
yeah. And
I mean, I'm as someone that was not a big fan of it, and we all know my stuff on James Cameron on the record.
Yeah, right.
To be honest, you're not going to his movies for the damn story. You're going for the visual splendor.
Exactly. Yeah. But like, hey, me after seeing the teaser, I was like, I actually kind of want to watch the original Avatar again.
Yeah, same. Like in 3D.
Right, exactly. So like part of me hates myself for it because the studio and fucking Disney and James Cameron are saying they're doing like a remastered version of Avatar and putting it back in theaters again.
They're just trying to get more money for that darn
trying
thing.
to get more
what
money,
doing.
trying to milk that same cow over and over. And I'm sitting here going, oh my God, am I actually be one of those fucking losers who actually wants to go and see this again?
They're doing exactly.
I'm very excited because I didn't see Avatar when it was in theaters originally.
Oh,
I've only ever watched it on
say,
TV.
yeah.
And it's the same. My sister's obsessed with Avatar, and she also was like too young to have seen it in theaters.
Oh,
so
interesting.
we're
Okay.
very excited to get to go actually see it in the theater.
Good, honestly, good for you guys. Like the first, like I got to see it in theaters in 3D, and like it was one of the most breathtaking theatrical experiences ever.
Like the way it blew everyone's mind.
Yeah, and
with
like,
how good that 3D looked.
Like I still remember back in 2009, like my theater was fucking packed.
Yeah.
And it was like a huge like crowd pleaser. Everyone fucking loved it in the theater. It was like, I forgot which critic said this. It might have been Roger Ebert. And about
Star Wars.
Yeah, exactly. That
yeah,
this is
Ebert.
that this movie is what it felt like. It's like the closest thing to when Star Wars first came out in 77. And I'm like, you know what? Like that's perfectly understandable because it's like absolutely transportive and immersive and like I'm excited for you, Nicole, to get to see this in the theater.
Roger really hurt my soul there with that comment. That really hurts.
He's not wrong.
Right? He's wrong. He's absolutely right.
He's not. He's not always. He wasn't always right. But
he was right about that, though.
I don't know. I don't know about that. And I'm muting Dan. No, I'm just kidding. But no, I am weirdly interested in this movie, even though I am on record, and overall, and yes, I am because you put $1 billion, $2 billion into a franchise. I want to see what you got. I mean, like for me, it's somebody spends 12 years of their life doing something. It's regardless of if it, I mean, you guys are all saying that it looks beautiful. I want to see it. Like, I want to see something, at least it'll be maybe original and different. And hopefully it'll be something new.
I already know what you're going to say though. Like I already know what you're going to say. You're going to say shit like, Matt Reeves did not need to spend 12 years to make the Batman, and look how much better that movie is.
I mean, you're not wrong. But I mean, I can tell you that already. But I will say,
for more of this thrilling content, listen to Busting the Block with Ryan and Kevin.
No, but I will say this is that I am doing a Cameron retrospective over at In Session Film later this year. So right before this movie comes out. So I will have seen all these movies and give them, you know, it'll be fresh on the mind going into this. So I am looking forward to it. I have not seen Avatar since the theater. I did not see it in 3D. Yeah, I saw it in 2D. And that was always my problem with is like, and this is my problem with 3D because one, I wear glasses 100% of the time when I'm not sleeping. So the idea of 3D for me is a money thing by studios and by the distributors. And two, it is not the optimal way I want to see a film because a movie should stand alone and be great beyond having its gimmick. You know what I mean? And I think, and that's what is interesting. You are saying, Kevin, is they are going to remaster it and put it in theater. If somebody pays for that ticket, I'll go see it in 3D. I will, just so then I can see what that hoopla was about 12 years ago when everyone was going crazy over the 3D face because I didn't see it. So, and I will most likely see this film in 3D. That's probably what they'll do at the press screening, like they did for you guys for the trailer.
Probably.
And so I will have the full experience then at that point to then finally say like, okay, the 3D was really good. But for the most part, 3D doesn't really work on me like as a visual viewer. So I have to, and that's maybe a knock on the film. Maybe it's not, it's just me and just my eyesight and my terrible eyes. And so I have to factor that in, but I am curious beyond, I like this strategy from Disney and from Fox and Cameron of, I'm going to put this trailer in the theater. That's where you're going to go see it. for a week. If you want to see this trailer, it's not going to go online. You got to go experience it in the theater. I wish more studios and I wish more franchises would do that. That's how it used to be. That is a old school way of thinking that I applaud James Cameron for doing, because he could have just literally thrown this up online. Now, like you guys have said, there's not much probably to this trailer other than a reintegration, but you need, after 12 years of something being gone, you just need a toe back into the water before you give them what you're about to get, whether it's good or bad. It doesn't matter. You got to reintegrate the population into something where Avatar's become a joke of itself. I mean, there is a SNL sketch about the damn font of Avatar. So that's there's a way in which I think that they're going to do this. It's going to be very smart. I don't think it, for me, and it would have to be mind blowing. I don't think it'll have the same maybe award success as the first one because it's so fresh and new. But it will have box office overseas. This thing is going to play like gangbusters. And so maybe when we're doing the fall movie preview, whoever takes that into consideration should probably pick that number one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just really, really cool that they're treating the trailer like an event.
Yeah.
Which is,
I mean because it is. We've been waiting for it for a decade.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Well, that trailer should be online sometime later this week, if not in the next week or so. So you'll all get to see that, and we'll love to get people's feedback. It's going to be a nightmare. Definitely. I'm not going to really even comment on it. I just kind of want to see it too, to be honest with you, because
it's gonna be a total nightmare. Like, be ready for the tweets where people just say, "That's
it." That's it. There's
Yeah.
nothing new. You know what I mean? Like, that's exactly what people are going to say. So, see, I'm trying to be optimistic about it. But speaking of optimism, Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness. So we're here for that. We're going to be here to talk about this now. We're going to try to give a little good review about it before we get into a game. This movie, number one at the box office, obviously this weekend. Do we have box office numbers yet? I don't believe somebody looked that up.
It hit about 450 million
worldwide. Damn, that's good. That's pretty good. Pretty good for team one there. I'm not gonna lie.
But given the response, it may not do so well next week.
That is true. It is more of the divisive film than I don't think any of us would have saw it to be. For its, it go all around the spectrum of reviews for this one. We're gonna kind of give our initial reactions. We're gonna talk a little bit of spoilers. Try not to go too heavy on it, but it is the big thing that everybody's talking about this week. So, Nicole Ackman, you saw this film. We've all seen this film. I know that you're a good fan of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. You really like the franchise for the most part. I know that you and I have talked about some of what I think lesser entries, but movies that you really love. So, what did you think of Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness? I always thought it was "and the Multiverse of Madness" until I sat down at the IMAX screening for the press and I went, "Oh, it's in?" And so that was just a little bit of like, wow, I didn't even know that. Anyway, your thoughts on "in the Multiverse of Madness"?
I was super excited for this film. Like you said, I am a Marvel girly. I love the MCU. It's sort of one of the things that my family bonds over is we are MCU people. And I was really disappointed by this movie. It's in my bottom 3 Marvel movies. Ooh. I really hated it, honestly. I think that this movie, first of all, wastes the concept of the multiverse. I think it feels really small scale compared to some of the other multiverse projects that we've gotten, like Loki and Spider-Man No Way Home, in terms of how they've used the concept of the multiverse. Mm-hmm. I think it proves that Marvel still has a really bad problem with female characters and how they write them and how they use them. I think that in every way, this movie had so much potential and it wasted it. I have really huge issues with the way that they wrote Wanda in this film. I do think that Elizabeth Olsen gives a fantastic performance. I think Benedict Cumberbatch also gives a really good performance. I think that the whole Sam Raimi horror film aspect of this was really overhyped. I think you can see Sam Raimi trying to do his thing, and I think there are some really good visual aspects, but I think calling this a full-on horror movie is like laughable, to be honest, which is what we were told it was going to be. It's not. I'm the biggest scaredy cat of all time. I didn't think it was that scary. I don't even think I would call it like thematically the darkest Marvel movie. I don't even think I would say it's thematically the darkest Marvel movie of Phase 4. I am really disappointed in it. I know a lot of other people are too, particularly with how they handled the character of Wanda. And I want to be clear, I love the idea of Wanda as a villain. I just think the way that they did it was really weird. And I think that Marvel has really strange issues with how they conceptualize women as mothers. And it really came to a head in this film. And honestly, I've never had my confidence in the future of the MCU shaken like it has been by this film.
Oh, all right. Dan Bayer, your thoughts on the Multiverse of Madness?
So I am very much on the record as not being the biggest Marvel fan.
What are you talking about? It's like your favorite thing. You wake up every morning and you pray to Kevin Feige. What are you talking about?
Sure. It may be in some other universe in the multiverse.
Yeah, I was like, pray, please stop.
But
right?
not this one. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
That said, like, my issues with it are usually that they don't feel as fun or creative as I have always found what few comic books I have read to be. It seems like they have all this potential and the movies just feel very kind of pedestrian in that way. It's just kind of straightforward action sequences. There was the sort of controversial article from a few years back about things flying into other things. And that's all these movies are. And I mostly come on the side of like, yeah, that is how I feel when I watch these movies very often. Not all the time, but very often. And this one, I thought it at least had a lot of moments where that sort of creativity and joy that I would often find on comic book panels was there in this movie. There were scenes that felt incredibly creative and visually dynamic and interesting and fun to watch in a way that, for me, most of the Marvel movies aren't. However,
there you go.
I agree with everything else Nicole said specifically about Wanda and the way that character was written, and that Marvel has a problem with writing women. I don't think that the idea of Wanda as a villain was necessarily bad. I see where this grew off of what was done with her character in WandaVision, but also it felt like just the absolute laziest way to go with this character after that story, and it felt cliche in a way that so much of this movie felt like it was not doing. And on top of that, I feel like a lot of the other characters were also written very poorly. They were just stupid in a way that I had trouble believing. Okay. And that sort of soured the movie a bit, specifically after it was over. While I was watching it, I was having a great time. I thought it was fun, and I was willing to overlook the issues that I had with the character writing because the visuals were so much fun. And it is very much Sam Raimi with a $100+ million budget. And I think he's having a blast, and I felt that sense of fun. But after the fun of the moment has faded away, I was just left with something that felt very empty.
Okay. Kevin, your thoughts on this new Doctor Strange Part 2?
Yeah, well, I want to preface by saying that I like every MCU movie.
Even Thor: The Dark World?
Yes, even
Iron Man 2?
I will defend Thor: The Dark World. Because it has good character building.
There are things in Thor: The Dark World that I think does better than any other Thor movie.
Like, okay, all right, okay.
Just putting it out there.
Interesting. Not many people say that. That's all.
Look, it's Iron Man 2 that is the true nadir of the MCU.
Whenever
the Incredible Hulk.
I like that movie.
That movie doesn't exist in the MCU. What are you talking about?
But yeah, whenever Twitter asks about like, oh, drop a hot take, right? Or drop an opinion that'll get you canceled or blah blah blah. I always like to drop that there isn't a bad MCU movie yet. But even I am really, really feeling the superhero fatigue, especially after Endgame. And I think that's credit to Endgame, because I felt like Endgame was so conclusive. It felt like if I'm not saying this is the same in terms of the quality of the film, but Endgame felt like a Return of the King and a Deathly Hallows Part 2, in that it's done. Like, this big saga, this big storyline is over. And because of that, I was like, I'm perfectly okay if they just stop making Marvel movies now.
Yeah.
So because of that, Phase 4 has been really interesting for me. It's been like really a hit and miss for people. And I sort of, with my fatigue and lack of interest in wanting to continue the MCU after Endgame, I sort of really changed my stance and my expectations and what I want out of an MCU movie ever since Endgame. Now I'm sort of like, just give me something I've never seen before. Just give me something that, like, just take swings. Just don't play things safe, And I think what Dan said and what Nicole has said about the story aspects and the writing aspects of Multiverse of Madness, they are on point. I felt like the first half of this movie is probably the sloppiest the MCU has ever done. I was really taken aback by how the movie did its exposition and its rule explaining. I'm like, wait, are you actually just having two characters say it out loud while they're sitting in a cafe? Okay, I guess we're doing it this way. It was very, very strange. Where I was like, wow, someone... It's like, wow, you're just going to have America Chavez says, we can't do that. That's not an option. Why not? Because I've been there. Okay, all right, I guess. I felt like the first half of this movie is very clunky. It's all over the place. And it's told in a way where it's as if the writers assumed you watched all of WandaVision and all of What If the night before. It's very, very, it's bizarre. So I was not really on board with that. However, I felt like the second half of this movie, it fucking rips. I felt like the movie just started doing things that I had no idea that this movie would actually go for. I caught myself several times going, "Wow, we're doing this? Okay, we're doing this." And then there are times where I go, "Wow, that camera tilt, that camera zoom, those editing choices, that score, who's behind that musical score? He is going hard on this."
Danny Elfman had the time of his life.
Yeah, exactly.
Love it.
So by the time the movie gets to the second half and the whole third act and everything and all the action sequences, I was just really thinking, wow, the studio just let Sam Raimi do whatever to this, and like I kind of applaud them for it. And like, so it ends up being this movie where I completely understand those who are really disappointed by it and those who put it at the bottom of Marvel, saying this is like really sloppy, messy, disappointing storytelling. But the other part of me sees like, dude, this is like the most I've ever felt a director's fingerprints on a movie. And like, to me, that's the thing that I want to hold on to, and that's the thing that I like to see more of. And so people are probably going to really slam me on this, because I know the reception to Spider-Man No Way Home has been extremely positive, and I do think No Way Home is a great film. But I think No Way Home plays things so safe. And especially when you take in the rumors and the leaks, and like Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield, they're great in it, and I love seeing them, and I was cheering for sure when I saw them, but they didn't surprise me, because the way we consumed this content on social media, it wasn't surprising anymore. It didn't feel like a breath of fresh air. It didn't feel like twists and turns. It didn't feel like a filmmaker who wanted to open a Pandora's box and disrupt things, right? And so I just respect Multiverse of Madness a lot, because it felt like a movie that had the guts and balls to disrupt things. And if it means that it's a flawed movie that doesn't work all the time, fine, I'll take it.
Yeah. I agree with a lot of the sentiment around here towards this movie. I am also, like Dan, I have grown fatigued from this for a very long time from this franchise. I think that I have a very much a enjoyable, then sometimes hateful relationship, because this franchise has ripped apart cinema as we know it to its commoditization of IP properties dominating it. And this is the only thing that makes money, and it's the only thing people care about. And it really hurts because there's so many beautiful stories that get ignored every single year. And yet these stories, like this one, that have even its own fan base, admittedly torn apart, it made $500 million basically worldwide, like a snap of a Thanos finger.
Mm-hmm.
And so that has always been the thing that has broken my heart, is that over the last couple of years, I agreed exactly with Kevin's point. This franchise should have been over with and done, and they have been milking a cow, almost a dead cow, it feels like, for a long, long time. They are doing, and I know Nicole's going to get angry about this, they are doing, but Nicole, I think, will agree with me. They did a Black Widow prequel after Endgame, way too late, and it has no stakes in this thing whatsoever, other than to introduce a character that then you're going to throw in a television show halfway through and not give them even their own thing to do to support yet another original Avenger. That's bad. Your television series now are starting to fold into your movies, not even as just on the screen. Kevin Feige literally at a press conference or on a red carpet this week said the events of Loki affected the events of No Way Home. And he didn't even care to explain that in the context of what is on screen. He said that if in a clip for someone asked him on a red carpet. That is as bad as when we get on Star Wars and other franchise for doing that same nonsense of, you got to read a book to understand this character's arc for this next sequel. And it is bad storytelling. And it's also just bad faith as a studio. And yet, I understand everyone's getting upset about having the WandaVision storyline play into this. But I think the reason why they 100% put it in there is because they know we all watched it. They did. They're not stupid. They got the numbers. So they wouldn't do, I mean, they haven't put Moon Knight yet, and they haven't put Falcon Winter Soldier and Loki yet. But this one, WandaVision, was the most popular. It got a ton of Emmy nominations. It was critically really well put together. And it was also 30 minutes in and out sort of storytelling. Very well done for what it was supposed to do, except it had, I think, a little bit of a clunky ending. But other than that, fine, whatever. I've really liked Benedict Cumberbatch's Doctor Strange. I think, for me, out of all the actors that have had main films, he might be the best actor among them, period. And that's controversial to say, but of standalone actors, he has the gravitas to carry projects beyond just the MCU. And he's on a roll right now. And his film, his Doctor Strange film, the first one, I know a lot of people weren't a big fan of that, but I was, because I thought it was really cool and different, though I thought Scott Derrickson really sort of started taking a lot of the mirror world and stuff, and really it was like, oh, I watched Inception 5 minutes ago. But I thought with his parts in Infinity War, Endgame, Thor Ragnarok, and No Way Home last year, Doctor Strange has become the most important character in the MCU. He is positioned himself now as, I wouldn't say the next Iron Man, but he's definitely in a situation where, like, this character is vital for everything we are going to do forward. And I thought this movie, on the whole, made me really excited to see what's going to happen next in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. At a time in which I considerably sit back there and go, this is disposable. This is a waste of time. Like Eternals, I liked Eternals a lot, but I have no idea what that movie is going to do for the future. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, really liked that film a lot. What are we doing here? The ending of No Way Home, I sat there and I went, that will be reversed within the next 2 to 3 films easily. Almost felt like it was going to literally at the beginning of this movie. You like mentioned it. I'm like, holy shit, we're going to reverse everything, aren't we? Like that will be a literal plot point of something down the line. We all know it and we will watch it. But I also heard some people talk about the marketing of this film and how it's been manipulative and how they sold it as like the ramifications of Steven and what he did in No Way Home, the fact that like Wanda would have to help him and all that stuff. For me, I sat back and I went, good thing they didn't do that. They took this in directions that we normally don't see the MCU do. They took swings. They brought in a director that made 2 of the most important comic book movies of all time in Spider-Man 1 and 2, the original ones with Tobey Maguire.
And 2 of the best.
Yes. And they let this guy cook in the kitchen. Like Kevin Feige didn't say, oh, I made the souffle. Sam Raimi made the souffle, baby. And it works. Not all the way on the page. Obviously, I'll give you that. Because while I didn't have a problem with Wanda, Wanda's not the female character I have a problem with in this film. It's America Chavez or Exposition Chavez. And the fact that once again, I'll take you next step. Like Nicole said, Marvel has a problem with female characters. I'll take you to the next step. They have a problem with Latino characters because beyond America Chavez, we've had Selma Hayek, who, spoilers for Eternals, is wasted completely in that movie. Barely does anything, even though she's the best part of that damn movie.
She is.
And
she has some of the best lines.
Beyond those two characters, the only other real Latino representation has been Michael Pena doing a stereotypical voice in Ant-Man films. Yeah. And for me, as a Mexican American, I sit back and I go, that's problematic. And I'm interested in seeing what they're going to do with America Chavez going forward. Maybe have a female writer come on the writing staff and help you out with that, dude, because that was not good. The fact
that this is one of the only Marvel projects that has like a solo writer, and the fact that it's a man,
it was
so messed up.
And it's a very female centric film. Like you have a female villain, you need to have that presence there in the writing room, and it's not. But I will say, I understand, but I don't agree with the criticisms about Wanda, because this is a woman in her own television show that put an entire spell under an entire town for what some could consider selfish reasons, made up imaginary family that doesn't exist because she didn't want to confront the pain. I thought the arc of that, continuously trying to fight it, obviously her going into the Scarlet Witch phase, I thought that was awesome. I thought the fact that what they did with her in terms of Raimi's sensibilities as a director, his history of taking these bad guys and adding so much pulp and flair, it was like watching an Evil Dead movie at times. And I was like, hell yes, good for him. Like, let him cook, baby. Just let him. I keep saying, let him cook, because he is a guy, when you let him have full control, because Disney did not let him have full control for Oz and the Great and Powerful. When he's cooking, Sam Raimi is one of the best we have today, period.
Agree.
And he let Wanda go full on just Scarlet Witch mode in this movie. And I was so like, okay, you're going to show one side of it throughout this entire series of Wanda struggling and everything. What happens when the gloves are finally off? When she has no attachment to the Avengers, to this world that has treated her like garbage. And the only thing that truly does matter is getting this back, which was taken from her that she had to relinquish. And does she need to be the villain of this film? Probably not. Does it add anything new other to WandaVision than we didn't already get? No. Will we probably now get a redemption film for her down the road? Yeah. Is it a money thing?
I wish I had your hope about that.
I think they're going to. I mean,
they will.
They will. They totally
will. Will it be our Wanda? That's my question.
That's the question, right? But the thing is, I will say this, and then I'll open it back up. I'm sorry, I'm taking a lot of your time, but Kevin is right for me. Raimi here. This is some of the best direction the MCU has ever had. They actually have a vision. It doesn't wear its for me. It doesn't wear itself. Then for me, it kept gaining my curiosity as it was going. I was sitting there and just sitting to myself, my God, Sam Raimi really just knows how to make comic book movies more interesting than anybody else because he has a voice and a vision. By the time we get to the third act's final battle, where we're going to start talking about spoilers here. So spoiler, when Steven turns that dead body from the other universe into Zombie Strange, my God, under my mask at the press screening, I had the biggest grin on my face because I'm like, that's the Sam Raimi I've missed. Talk about a guy that's been gone for years, been put in almost director jail to come back and do this and get to be able to do this, because I've seen what they did to Chloe Zhao. I've seen what they've done to Ryan Coogler. I've seen what they've done to a guy named John Watts that I don't even know has a directorial flourish in his body. And they let it almost felt like Kevin Feige was making this movie after they had the relationship torn apart from Scott Derrickson. And it's like Kevin Feige himself was like, I was such a big fan of Spider-Man 1 and 2. And it has been the template that has made this career. I am going to let this king serve. And boy, howdy do I think he deserves it. And does he serve? And it's messy. It's a little McClunky. It's a little whatever you want to call it. But for me, I rather than be taking swings than keep bunting and trying to get on base. Try to hit home runs. And this isn't a home run. This isn't one of like the best films that they ever done. But is it top 10, maybe top 5 for me? Yeah, because it's confident in its directorial vision. And I wish, no pun intended on that, but I wish more of these films would do that. Anybody?
I completely agree with you that I wish that they would let the directors have more fun with these projects. I mean, I think that they have seemed to be going down the safe route because they don't want anyone to dislike the movies. They don't want anyone to like have a bad word to say about these movies. And when you take a swing like they did with this one, there is the possibility that people may not respond to it. And I think, but on the other hand, this is some of the most original, most fun individual scenes in any of the Marvel movies. It has one particular fight scene that is, I think, the most creative, most fun, most like, and not spoon feeding the audience moments in the entire MCU. And that's like 24 movies in that they got to something that felt truly original and like creative. And I think that's insane.
Are you talking, Dan, about what Ben Miller asked us this week, which is tell the truth? That musical note fight was completely ridiculous, in parentheses, a bad way. No, Ben, to answer your question.
Completely ridiculous in a great way.
In a great way. Like that's the kind of camp you get when you hire Sam Raimi.
And Danny Elfman too is having so much
I was like,
fun.
Danny Elfman's back right after riding the Coachella wave. He's coming back and he's ripping.
I was like, that scene, I was like, yes, this is the kind of like comic book shit that I want to see in these movies.
Yeah.
Give me something that is completely ridiculous and out there and creative. Like, it felt like something that wasn't even from the MCU.
No,
That's
it
how
felt like
different
it felt like a Sam Raimi movie.
Right. There's
Yeah.
also that one moment where in the finale where Strange is like, I'm gonna be like contacting the dark spirits, and he's asking Rachel McAdams, Christine, to hold off the spirits in case he needs help.
Oh, yeah.
And there's a moment where one of them goes after her, and it goes into like a POV Evil Dead shot.
It was straight out of Evil Dead. Yes.
I was like, oh my god, yes.
Yes. All that shit. Loved it.
Yeah.
I just I have so many individual nitpicks that like it's sort of like a thread, like you pull on one thread and the whole thing falls apart.
Yeah.
And that is what happened for me, unfortunately. I think Raimi is doing an incredible job with what he's been given. It's what he's been given that is the problem.
Yeah.
Raimi innocent.
Yeah, Sam Raimi innocent. Elizabeth Olsen super innocent.
not.
Like she is working her ass off.
Yeah,
to make
she
this
is. She
character
is
work.
having fun, and I think a lot
with
of
the horror villain stuff.
Oh,
yeah.
she is into it. And but Nicole, like for you, I mean, you said that this is
I
like
hate
bottom.
this movie.
Yeah, you know,
Like,
like
I do. And I
get
think
that- I
that is
get
for
that.
me that I am someone who like I approach all media in that like character building is the most important thing for me, no matter what I'm watching.
okay.
And I think that is this film's fatal flaw.
That's fair.
It
That's
throws
fair.
all of its character building out the window. It's like, for me, I would have moments where I was like, oh, this is really fun. But then I also remember what they were doing to one of my favorite characters, one of the only powerful women we have alive in the MCU. We have alive in the MCU at this point. And I couldn't enjoy it. Like, I did not have fun watching this movie because I was so taken aback by the way in which they were treating all three of their female characters, really. And I think that, like, I liked seeing what Raimi was doing. I don't fault Raimi for the issues with this movie. And it does give me hope that Thor Love and Thunder is going to be really great, because if they give Taika Waititi the amount of freedom that they gave, the amount of freedom that they gave him with Thor Ragnarok, even, that I think
He did have a
really
lot of freedom,
fun.
and
Yeah, I think it'll be a really fun, exciting film that has a bit of a different sense of humor than the rest of the MCU, which I like to see.
Yeah.
And I think that Taika understands how to use the Thor characters better than anyone has since Kenneth Branagh set them up. And I'm hopeful that maybe that can sort of save the future of the MCU for me. But we have an issue right now with the way that Natasha Romanoff was killed off, the way that Gamora was killed off, and now the way that they've used Wanda Maximoff. And I agree, like, I love the idea of Wanda going full villain. I love the idea that this is a character who has lost everything, who has had it taken from her. And here comes this man, which, mind you, I went back and tried to suss it out. She's never had an interaction with Strange before in the MCU.
I thought
maybe,
so.
at least
So
it'd probably be like off screen, maybe at like Stark's funeral or something like that. It's all off screen.
Precisely. So here comes this man who has no prior like interaction with her at all to ask her to do something for the Avengers.
Yeah.
I wish that they had brought more of that into her motivation, but they took her motivation down to just, she's a hysterical mommy who wants her kids back, not understanding that those aren't even her kids. She's going to take them from another mother, and she spends most of the film trying to kill a child. None of that works with the character of Wanda as they've set her up thus far. I wish that they'd gone more into the idea that in WandaVision, they set up that here is a Wanda who is turned on the Avengers, who realizes that the Avengers used her.
Well, I think that
and then threw her out.
Yeah.
And they never actually go for that motivation. There's all these really shitty lines about like, I'm not a monster, I'm a mother. And I hate that they stripped Wanda down to that being her whole identity.
Well,
and
and
also
she gets
the whole motivation for her being a villain.
And she gets that great line about like, you do this and you become a hero. I do this and I become the villain. That doesn't seem fair. That, if they had stuck to that, would have been a great motivation for her, and it should have been her defining character moment
like,
for this movie. Then it wasn't.
Yeah, it's like she just wants to have. Yeah, she just wants to have. That, for me, at least, it was like, okay, like what you said, Nicole, the whole WandaVision storyline is that she's done with the Avengers. She's done with that world. So she's creating her own to get away from all that. It's then taken away from her, obviously. And by the end of that series, she has gone into this book. She is turning into the Scarlet Witch. She is becoming this dark entity. She's not Wanda Maximoff anymore at the end of that series. She's the Scarlet Witch. That's already what she is. She's never Wanda here. She is fully corrupted by her rage and her sadness and her grief and everything, for me at least.
But I don't think they show us that.
I don't.
There's a big disconnect between WandaVision and where we find her here.
Yeah.
And I think that where we see her at the end of WandaVision, she's horrified that she's done this to innocent people.
Yeah.
She is really, really traumatized by that. And she sort of is trying to come to peace, and she willingly lets go of these children and Vision. She recognizes that, like, this was all something that I made. I also think the end of WandaVision sets it up as though she's hurt her kids through the Darkhold and they're in some sort of danger, which I think is also what upsets me about this. Is she goes to a random universe where her kids are fine.
Yeah.
If she'd found a universe where they were orphaned or something, I'd be like, yeah, go get them, Wanda. Well, like, that makes sense.
Well, the whole thing,
the whole to go from being horrified that she just like took over these people's lives to suddenly she's killing innocents and not caring, and we never see that corruption happen, I think is a huge problem.
And they try to blame it on the Darkhold and say that it's, maybe it's not really her. The Darkhold has corrupted her mind. And there's that line about the Darkhold exacts a heavy price or whatever. Yeah. But again, like, there's not really... She doesn't change after Strange then takes the Darkhold. She doesn't become, Wanda again instead of Darkhold Wanda Scarlet Witch. We don't see anything that, like, would really... Again, they sort of tell us that, she has been corrupted by the Darkhold, instead of showing us that this is not Wanda, it is some dark entity that has entered her soul and corrupted her. Yeah. They needed to do a better job with showing that to us if they wanted us to maintain our sympathy for this character and understand how this character has progressed from the last time we saw her, whether it was in WandaVision or Avengers Endgame, for people who don't watch the TV shows.
I feel like the line that she has where she says, it won't be Wanda who comes for her, it will be the Scarlet Witch. I wish that line was like delivered at the midpoint of the film, so that the first half of the film, she's Wanda, and then the second half of the film, she really becomes the Scarlet Witch. So that the midpoint of the film will really feel like a point of no return kind of thing, and the stakes really go up.
Okay.
I wanted some time where, like, maybe Strange isn't sure whose side she's really on. Yeah. And, maybe if she's actually helping him or not.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't think it makes sense for her to be doing what she is to America Chavez. Like, I don't think with the character of Wanda, that makes sense for her to randomly go after this little girl who has powers. I really just wish that they'd handled all of this, because I think there was so much potential, and I think especially with Raimi as the director, there was so much potential for this to be great, but he got handed a really bad script, and a script that I think is going to make a lot of female Marvel fans, and like you said, Brian, a lot of Latinx people Marvel fans feel really like Marvel doesn't care about them at all.
That is the one thing that I keep going back to, and I wouldn't rate it higher. It's just like, God damn it, they can't ever figure it out. They can't.
I feel like
hire a Latino director to maybe want to do a damn MCU movie every now and then.
I mean, it's making me realize just how lucky I am that I have Wong. And
Shang-Chi and
I really thought that. I think it's also that I feel very betrayed by it, in that I thought with Phase 4 Marvel was finally getting some things right in terms of representation, how they dealt with mental illness, how they dealt with female characters, how they dealt with characters of color in some of these TV shows in particular.
Yeah.
And then with this movie, I was like, or maybe not. Like, particularly because it's been hyped as sort of like the big event thing. And
aren't they always like that though? Like they're always the
Black
next
Widow
big-
wasn't.
That's fair. Well, we were that was the first
Neither
one.
I
was
was-
Shang-Chi.
Yeah,
Yeah, they
be
almost
fair,
tried to
yeah.
dump that on Disney Plus. That's right. Yeah,
Exactly.
I forgot about that, so.
This and Spider-Man have been like the two big event films
Yeah.
of, and particularly the ones that are like tied into the MCU.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so Eternal, Shang-Chi, and Black Widow then are not your big event films.
Yeah.
It's such a shame because I really liked Eternals.
Yeah.
And I think Eternals took some big swings, and like maybe
It
they didn't
did.
all work
Yeah.
out, but
Yeah.
like they weren't doing as much that to me felt like it was,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, there's issues with Eternals,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah.
not. It's not the normal Marvel issues of
Yes, that's
they
right.
don't know what to do with
Exactly.
a female character.
Exactly. Yes.
They're not willing to cast
Yeah.
people who aren't white men, you know, all that kind of
Yeah.
issue. So at least it was new problems.
Exactly.
Yes.
Right.
And this
Yeah.
It feels like this is a return to the Marvel issues of like phase 1 and 2.
Yeah. No. And it's in I
Makes
will
sense.
I'll say one last thing and then we're gonna put a button on this to a game and then we'll get out of here is that for all the fanboys with all their cameos, obsessedness of, you know, and everything. I'm gonna tell you this. That was the one thing I was very happy of is that they just straight up killed every single one of those cameos. Almost like
I
they
come back to me when they
bad.
come back to me when they actually kill cameos that
no, but
are
like
real characters.
the real
that we have come
characters,
to
they
know
were-
and care about.
yeah, they were
These
straight up
cameos were
MacGuffins.
so bad.
They were, but I also just love like the brutality of just like
Yes.
destroying.
Yeah,
Knowing
Yeah.
that like diehard, like sweaty Marvel fans are going
I
into
know.
this thing thinking that they're going to get all those and then they don't. They don't even,
I
they get
know.
like copies of it. That was the
I
one
know.
thing I was like, good for you, Sam Raimi. Good
I know. It was
Like,
it was like Deadpool 2, making you
Yeah.
think that X-Force is actually going to be a big deal. No,
Yeah, and then, like,
no,
we're
we're
all
going to
gone.
kill them
maybe
all.
not. Okay.
all right. Well, that's Doctor Strange and Multiverse of Madness. You've probably all seen it. And if you haven't seen it, you will sometime. So we're going to play a new game here. We played our draft last week. We're going to play a new game and it's called Awards Watch or Not. Awards Watch or Not. We're going to do 2 rounds of this. It's MCU related and then related to films outside of the MCU based off the Doctor Strange cast. It's the first one out of these 2 choices. Basically, you tell me which one you would rather watch, or, you know, the one that you pick is the one that you're going to watch forever. And then the other one gets thrown away forever. So just congratulations to that film on disappearing off the face of the planet. So we'll go Nicole, Kevin, and Dan. These should be pretty quick, but
Okay.
because these are how you feel. So MCU related ones, awards watch or not. Okay. Nicole, Spider-Man No Way Home or Thor Ragnarok?
That's cruel.
Oh, that is literally so cruel to do that to me.
It's cruel to her. I would have no problem, but it's very cruel.
That is so cruel.
I'm
I hate
sorry.
to throw- I cannot believe I'm throwing away the one good Andrew Garfield Spider-Man movie, but or Ragnarok.
Okay. Kevin,
Yes.
Yes.
which one? Same.
Oh,
yeah, we're all
same?
doing the same ones. Yes.
Oh, Thor Ragnarok.
So, okay. Dan Bayer.
Easily Thor Ragnarok. Yeah.
All right.
And
Yeah.
Taika we trust.
I'm going to take Thor Ragnarok.
I mean, the part where Thor throws a ball and hits himself with it. Come on.
yeah, no, it's pretty good. All right.
I mean, Tessa Thompson is Valkyrie. Like,
yeah,
there we go.
that's that.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm done.
let's
Kate
say-
Blanchett.
Kate
That's Hella.
Blanchett. Yeah.
Kate
That's all we
Blanchett
need
is
to know.
Hela. Yeah, the best female characters in the MCU? Question mark.
Mhm.
All right, next one. Nicole. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings or the first Iron Man?
Oh, Shang-Chi.
Oh.
Absolutely.
Kevin.
Easy.
Now this one hurts Kevin.
A little. A little.
A little.
Just a little. I'm gonna go the first Iron Man.
Okay. By the way, these are ones you're keeping. I just want to clarify.
Right,
that.
yes.
Okay. All right.
Mhm.
All right.
Yeah.
For our listeners out there, so nobody gets hurt. Or
Uh,
like wonder what we're doing here. Dan,
I'm.
I know it's tough.
I'm very sorry, Tony Young, and very, very sorry, Simu. I love you, Simu, but that first Iron Man is one of the most purely entertaining MCU
Yeah.
movies
Yeah.
still to this day.
Yep.
Yeah.
First Iron Man. I'm keeping that. Still my favorite MCU movie. Period. Yeah. It's just,
Hmm.
Yeah.
it's just great. It's just
Yeah.
a great movie.
I love Shang-Chi, but like I can't get over how the second half becomes a completely different movie.
Yeah.
Nicole, the
Okay.
age-old question that everyone's always asked over the last couple of years: Avengers Infinity War or Avengers Endgame?
Avengers Infinity War. The further I get from Endgame, I
Yeah.
swear every day I find a new problem with it. But between the Thor plotline, what they did to Natasha, and Steve's ending,
Yeah.
it is working its way towards the bottom of my MCU ranking. So Infinity War.
Kevin?
Endgame big time. I think all the love for Infinity War is simply because of people waiting for Thanos to kick everyone's ass and because of it having a ticking clock premise. But other than that, it is the most part one you've ever part one before. Whereas Endgame actually has a beating heart, in my opinion. And I love how the movie actually bothered to have the first 45 minutes be about the heroes having to deal with their failures and just how much is at stake, not even plot wise, but how much is at stake emotionally for these characters who we have been with for over a decade, you know. And yes, there are weird plot problems here and there with Endgame, but the emotional heart of it like wins me over every time.
Yep. And
I did everything that Kevin said.
Okay.
Basically, second, Infinity War is the most part one to ever part one, and I thought that ending was so cheap and crass and bullshitty. So it's Endgame.
all right. I'm gonna go with Infinity War because I do like its darkness and I do like the Thanos stuff in it, and I like that it leaves it in a very cold place. And I agree with Nicole on the problems of Endgame, and I do also agree with Dan what you said there about the ending of Infinity War and it being like the biggest, like, come on now, of all time.
Not
right,
that I'm a big Infinity War defender, it's that I'm a big Endgame hater.
Yeah, I got you.
And the Endgame absolutely has its problems.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong.
All right, we're gonna pick up the pace here. We're gonna pick up the pace. Black Widow or Guardians of the Galaxy?
Black Widow. I hate Guardians of the Galaxy.
Okay, Kevin.
This is volume 1, right?
This is volume 1.
Oh, Guardians big time.
Okay.
And I liked Black Widow a lot, but Guardians.
Okay, Dan.
Guardians.
Sorry, Nicole.
The way that the gender divide happened right there.
I'm so sorry.
Damn.
It's just Black Widow is not a good movie.
Eternals or Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2?
Eternals.
Kevin.
Eternals.
Okay, Dan.
Oh, I have to pick one.
Yes,
Yes.
it's the game.
As much as I hate Chris Pratt's face, Guardians 2.
Yeah, I go Guardians 2. I like it more than Guardians 1, but Eternals, I need to rewatch it and then maybe it'll grow out even more.
Yeah.
But I do like Eternals. Though.
Eternals was much better than I had been led to believe it was.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Okay, next. Black Panther or Captain America the Winter Soldier?
I love Black Panther. I really do. But Captain America the Winter Soldier is like the be all end all of comic book movies for me.
Yep. All right, Kevin.
Curse you for picking the two best MCU movies and putting them against one
This
another.
is the one that hurts. This is the one that hurts. Oh my God. Oh man. Jesus.
Me maniacally putting this together last night.
I mean,
Just you wait.
I will never forget how I felt when I first saw Winter Soldier in the theater. I was so blown away by it. Oh God. Okay.
I think it's the Russo brothers' best work.
It is. It is.
Come on, Kevin. Clock's ticking.
I'm gonna go Black Panther because I think the drama behind it, what it's trying to say, is far more profound than the Winter Soldier, and because it's the one I think of more.
Okay, Dan.
Yeah.
Big shout out to the elevator fight in Winter Soldier because that's the best fight scene in any MCU movie.
Mm-hmm.
But Black Panther, it's the only time they've ever gotten the villain right.
Yeah. I'm gonna go Winter Soldier, but I really like Black Panther a lot, and yeah, Michael B. Jordan. My God. All right, last two real quick of this round: Ant-Man and the Wasp or Captain Marvel. Nicole.
Captain Marvel, obviously.
Okay. Kevin.
Captain Marvel.
Dan?
Captain Marvel.
I'm going Ant-Man and the Wasp. I like that movie. Yeah.
I like that movie too.
I like them both. Yeah, it's kind of
I like them both.
Little underrated.
I like them both.
Opinion.
You know,
I cannot support any movie that wastes Michelle Pfeiffer. I'm sorry.
That's fair. That is
I gotta say, Captain Marvel. The first time I saw it, I thought it was pretty good. The second time I saw it, I thought, no, this is actually kind of great.
If I think too hard about Captain Marvel, I will cry.
Oh. I need to rewatch it. I haven't seen it since theaters, but I really like it.
Brie Larson has amazing chemistry with Samuel L. Jackson. It's not
incredible.
Yes.
Yeah.
So good.
It's not even funny.
Last one of this round: Iron Man 2 or Thor: The Dark World. Okay. You kind of answered this already.
I'm a Thor: The Dark World apologist.
All right, there we go. So that helps. Kevin?
Yeah, Thor: The Dark World. I think at least there are things that the Dark World does that I think were more interesting than the first Thor, even though it's not a better movie than the first Thor. Whereas Iron Man 2 doesn't do a single thing better than Iron Man 1.
I think there's some interesting character building in Thor.
Dan?
Yeah.
Despite the fact that it steals its best action scene wholesale from Monsters Incorporated, it's still one of the best action scenes in all the MCU. So Thor: The Dark World.
Okay. I'm going Iron Man 2. I despise Thor: The Dark World, and that 2 hours I'll never get back. So we'll leave it at that. All right.
I'm not going to admit how many times I've seen it.
We don't have that time. Not that show. All right. Awards Watch or Not edition, Doctor Strange cast. Okay. So these are the movies outside of the MCU that I'm putting up against. So we're going to
gotcha.
I got to do this quickly. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first one that comes off the top of your head. Annihilation or 9 Days? Benedict Wong. Nicole.
9 days.
9 days. Big time.
Dan?
I hate you for doing this, but yes.
That one was for Dan.
days.
Yeah.
I hate you.
I'm going Annihilation.
Annihilation is so fucking good, though. Ugh.
For Elizabeth Olsen, Martha Marcy May Marlene, or Ingrid Goes West. Nicole.
Ingrid Goes West.
Okay.
Oh, Martha Marcy May Marlene, come on.
Yeah.
That's still her best performance. It's unbelievable.
Extraordinary in that movie.
To the listeners out there, if you've never seen it, oh my God, go see that.
Don't watch Wind River. Watch that. Watch both of these movies. Dan.
Wind River is good, but this is tough.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a long time since I've seen Martha Marcy May Marlene, and I have pretty vivid memories of Ingrid Goes West, so I'm going to say that.
I agree with Kevin. Martha Marcy May Marlene, fantastic film. Sean
So
Durkin.
good.
Sean Durkin.
Mm-hmm.
Learn that name,
So
folks.
good.
Awards Watch or Not, Michael Stuhlbarg edition. Nicole, you go first. Call Me by Your Name or Arrival.
Oh.
Yeah.
Just because I like the performances in it so much. Call Me by Your Name.
All right, Kevin. Call Me by Your Name or Arrival.
Well, you know where I stand on this.
Yeah, you're
one,
going
Ryan.
Arrival on this.
I'm going Arrival, yeah.
Yeah. Dan?
Arrival, one of the best sci-fi features of the 21st century, but Call Me by Your Name.
I'm going Arrival, but damn, I love Call Me by Your Name too. Both of those movies, fantastic.
Yeah.
Awards Watch or Not, Michael Stuhlbarg edition again. Lincoln or Steve Jobs.
This is where I admit something embarrassing. I've never seen Steve Jobs, but I'm still picking it because I hate Lincoln.
All right, here you go. This is why we play the game.
Yes.
All right,
the
Kevin.
historian who
We
hates
stand.
Kevin.
So I think Steve Jobs is one of the most underrated films of the 2010s decade. Not enough people talk about that movie because it's got a killer screenplay. The Act 2 has the sequence where the editing and the score and the dialogue all comes together rapid fire, and it's so fucking good. And it has such a unique structure of its 3 acts, having each act just be a keynote. Not enough people watch it. I would be so I would go so far as to calling it a masterpiece. So Steve Jobs.
All right, Dan.
Also gonna say Steve Jobs. Lincoln is very good, but Steve Jobs, super duper underrated and so much more interesting.
Yeah, it's so good.
I'm going Steve Jobs because it knows how to end, as opposed to Lincoln. That last 15 minutes is
Why
on
is it
record unbearable. Awards Watch or not, Mordo versus Doctor Strange edition. Chiwetel Ejiofor in The Martian versus Benedict Cumberbatch in 1917.
Okay, I mean,
Wait, are we talking about performances now?
Talking about the
or-
movies, baby. Talking about
Okay.
this has been the movies the whole time.
the
So
thing is, I actually do love The Martian, but
Yeah.
obviously, I'm gonna say 1917.
Yeah. Kevin, quickly.
I'm with Nicole. The Martian is so much fun and so rewatchable. Like one of the most rewatchable films of that
Yes.
decade. And yet 1917, like just everything
All right.
about it.
Dan.
The Martian, best film in which poop is a major character. Um,
And that's not
But-
just Matt Damon. You
yeah,
know what I mean?
yeah. But
You're welcome.
1917 is a freaking masterpiece.
It is.
I'm going The Martian. I am still on record. I'm not a big fan of 1917. So maybe one day I'll rewatch it.
It's okay. The Martian's also fantastic.
Yeah, The
It
Martian's a great
is.
movie.
Yeah.
Rachel McAdams edition of Awards Watch or Not. Mean Girls or Game Night?
I've never seen Game Night, and I
Oh,
got
okay.
yelled at about this recently.
Yeah. You gotta watch it. It's great. She's
But
fantastic.
It's
I'm
very
gonna go with
fun.
Game Night because I don't like Mean Girls.
Oh,
What?
opinions
But
have
About
been
Time
said.
is the Rachel McAdams movie where it's at.
Yeah.
So
I almost selected The Notebook, but I thought, yeah.
I also don't
that's-
like The Notebook.
Yeah,
I
that's
don't-
too on the nose.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So,
About Time is
Kevin,
where it's at.
Game Night, Mean
Uh,
Girls, quickly.
The bullet removal scene
Yeah.
alone makes Game Night the
I
winner.
got this Chardonnay. Yeah.
I need to watch.
Oh
this.
no, he's dead. God, one of
Oh
the
no,
best.
he
line-
died.
Oh my
It's
God,
so
one of the
good.
best
Yeah.
line deliveries ever. Yes. Dan.
Game Night, very funny, but Mean Girls is really one of the best screenplays ever written.
Yeah. Mean Girls.
Going with Mean Girls.
Mean Girls. Rules.
Classic.
Still to this
Classic
day.
for a
it rules.
reason.
Last three. We got last three. Real quick. All
Okay.
right. Benedict Cumberbatch edition. Power of the Dog or 12 Years a Slave?
12 Years a Slave.
Okay. Kevin.
Ooh. I think 12 Years a Slave by a little bit, by a hair.
Okay. Dan.
Yeah, same as Kevin, just slightly, but 12 Years a Slave.
I'll go Power of the Dog, mostly because I'm probably going to rewatch that film more than 12 Years a Slave, but they're both fantastic films.
God, I forgot Cumberbatch was in it. Like, I was expecting you to mention 12 Years a Slave under Chiwetel Ejiofor.
Same.
Yeah.
What a twist! Spotlight or Children of Men? Rachel McAdams is in Spotlight. Chiwetel Ejiofor is in Children of Men. Nicole, which one haven't you seen? Yeah, I'm just gonna say-
I've never seen Children of Men.
Oh, okay. Homework.
Yeah, so we'll go Spotlight.
Okay.
I think any listener who follows me on Twitter knows how much Spotlight affected me. So I'm going to go Spotlight.
Dan.
Children of Men, and it's not even close.
Dan gets it. Though Spotlight, wonderful film, but Children of Men, foundational film. Last one, the Old Boy remake or Prometheus. Old Boy remake has Elizabeth Olsen, and the Prometheus, which is basically an Alien remake, has Benedict Wong. So Nicole,
I'm gonna abstain from voting.
haven't seen either one of those, huh? Kind of figured. Kevin,
I am in the camp that thinks Prometheus is actually great.
okay.
Thank you. Thank you, Kevin Lee.
So I'm saying Prometheus.
Dan,
For me, I am a huge Prometheus apologist.
Yeah.
The quote unquote abortion scene in that is better than whole other movie.
oh Nicole, you have no idea.
Nicole,
Like-
It is like
I'm adding it to my list.
it is like
so good.
Yeah.
Just biting my hand, biting my my arm
so
while watching
tense.
it.
So
Yeah.
tense.
Yeah.
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 I'll go with Prometheus slightly. The Old Boy remake is not poor Spike. That's all I have to say about that.
Yeah, poor Spike.
Poor Spike.
Poor
So
Spike.
that's been Awards Watch or not. We'll probably do this every.
This was
I
fun.
love this game.
We'll do this next week.
Yeah,
we'll
it's a
do
little
it in
fun.
another one. We'll do it again. That's going to be it for this week's Awards Watch podcast. Nicole Ackman, can you tell everybody where they can find you and your work on the internet?
Yeah, you can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Nicole Ackman 16. And I've got link trees in those places to where you can find my work.
Kevin Lee.
You can find me on Twitter at KLEE_film review, and you can find my reviews on Awards Watch, Film Inquiry, and That Shelf.
Dan Bayer.
You can find me on Twitter at Dance Dan on Film.
And you can find me here at Awards Watch, In Session Film, Film Speak, all those places. That's where my writing's at. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd at Ryan McQuade 77. Catch more Tony's coverage by Dan, some more Emmys coverage coming up. We had some interviews come up on the website this week that Eric conducted. We'll have some more of those coming up in the next couple of weeks. We'll have some film reviews. Oh, and by the way, there's this little thing called Can that we'll have reviews for up on the website very, very soon. But that is going to be it for our time here. We will see you all next week and keep on watching films. Bye.